Just a little evening after work. I got about a half hour to kill, so doesn't have a master cylinder. The the carburetor's loose. If I pop the distributor cap off, we don't have a rotor button or a set of points. So there's a couple of things I need to do before this thing can be even slightly mobile. And I do intend to make it mobile because I have to take it through the inspection before I can get the registration going on with this car. So yeah, somebody bought the kit to do a Weber carb conversion, 2-barrel. So I'm gonna set that over there, but they didn't put any of the nuts on or whatnot. This nut is apparently seized. This one's missing, so it's kind of decent. Yeah. So kind of need to port match the manifold to the adapter, otherwise you got that huge transition wall right there. But you know, we're not going for performance here really. I just want to get it running. Big old spring. This probably was the original throttle return spring. There's throttle linkage stuff here. So this should have a linkage coming off the firewall. Oh, yep, there it is. Yeah, it would have gone. Yep, would have gone from there to there. So anyways, I'm just kind of messing around, as you can see. This must have been a brake pressure switch. Boy, that's you can tell how many times I twisted it unscrewing it. Why didn't you just unplug it first? Whatever. So anyways, I want to check out the fuse box. I gotta find the fuse box. I got a harness coming through here. What's over here? Oh, that's a fan motor. So the main harness is right there. So the fuse box is probably on the other side of that. So I'd like to get check the fuses. And I've got a battery in here. It's not a very good battery, but it's holding, 5 out of 6 cells are charged. And so if I can get, I know the headlights work. I can already turn on the headlights, but I'd like to get, parking lights. So we got a parking light down here and on the other side as well. And the ones on the rear don't work either. It might be the bulbs, but I highly doubt all of the bulbs went out. Short of a charging problem that popped all the bulbs. But more likely, fuses are making bad contact or something. Oh, look, there's some blue valve cover under here. Maybe I'll, I gotta get this thing out and pressure wash it. Apparently there's some engine numbers I need to find out if this is a 144 or a 170. So is it a 2.4 liter or I guess 2.7? Doesn't make a whole lot of difference, but ordering parts could be really important. All right, so I cleaned this up. I got all the threads cleaned up. I only have one nut for holding this down, so I'm gonna have to go to the hardware store and get another nut. It just barely clears this housing anyway, so that's gonna be interesting tightening that down. I don't know what they were thinking. They make the thing so you can go all the way in, but then there's no room to get a nut there. Anyways, I took a rag and wiped that a little bit, and yeah, it's cleaned up. It's all painted underneath, so I just need to get this grunge off, and the thing's gonna look great. One thing I noticed was I got 3 different types of spark plug wires. I got this one. This one's kind of flexible. These are stiff as a board, and they're a different type. We got folded over right there, and then we've got these that stick out like that one, but you can see that one's a completely different boot type than these. So, and these are hard as a rock. They're not flexible at all. So, yeah. Anyways, I got new sets of plug wires coming in a couple days. So, we'll swap those out. I'd love to just, put a throttle cable in this thing like a more modern car. This linkage thing is just asking for failure points and getting hung up and stuff. So I'd rather just have a throttle cable. This carburetor looks like it's, I don't know. It's a Weber. It should take a throttle cable no problem. I don't know. But I like that it's got an electric choke because that's going to make the car way more drivable on this engine. Oh, good old generator down there. Yeah. Anyways, that's all I got time for tonight. I didn't really get anything done, but, it was nice to poke around at the car and get more familiar with it. As a bit of an experiment, I left a rag on here that I had soaked in vinegar, because I got a whole bunch of vinegar and I figured, what the heck? And took it off. A couple days later, it had dried out because I hadn't really monitored it. And everything was black underneath it. So I took the wire brush on my drill and just gave it a quick zip. And you can see, like, here areas I went with the wire brush just to see. And I can see a dramatic difference where I did not treat with the vinegar, and I did with. So it's taken it down to bare metal nearly perfectly. So I'm going to put some oil over this so it doesn't rust again, and maybe I'll treat the next area over, the next area up. See if we can get this whole trunk lid done with just a couple of cups of vinegar. So I'm pretty thrilled with the results so far. What do you think? I messed around and I hadn't shot some video that I should have shot, but I haven't got anything set up for recording. Anyways, new plug wires, new distributor cap. I got the points in here, but and I got a new rotor. Points are in here, but the screws were lost. So I've also got the condenser that goes right here, but the screws were lost, so I can't even install it yet. I gotta go to the hardware store this weekend. Same thing with needing the screw for the carburetor. I went to crank it over. I pulled all the spark plugs. They are wore out. One of them was even half the ceramic was broken off, but several of them are like clogged with having been burning oil. So this engine's done. But I went to crank it over, and the starter was just nothing. It would arc, but it wouldn't crank. And I hit it with a hammer a whole bunch, and then I pulled it out. Where is it? Yeah, it's sitting over here on the floor. And I was banging it on the floor and trying jumper cables, and that thing will not turn. It's just done, which is unfortunate because all I need it for is a couple of starts, and then I'm going to be pulling the engine and whatever. So anyways, I got one ordered. Rock Auto had it for $19, which is crazy cheap, but then they want $44 for shipping, so that's kind of annoying. So or no, not 44 for shipping. It was $44 a core charge. They wanted $19 starter, $44 core charge. How do you figure that? But I got a core for you. Anyways, next up, let me close this box. So you notice I'm missing my master cylinder, and this thing had a single pot reservoir, so it was kind of dangerous. So somebody on Facebook Marketplace had this brand new master cylinder with the booster. Boosters on Rock Auto are like $380 or more. So yeah, this is saving a pretty penny. I got this for $45. Brand new in the box. They said it was for some kind of Chevy truck, but what was nice was they said it was for dual drum brake setup. So it's brand spanking new. Let me try not to drop it here. But yeah, perfectly new. If I can make that thing fit in that tiny little space. I don't know. I'll have to tape measure. Oh, no, I don't have to tape measure here. But yeah, I'll have to grab a tape measure and see if it's going to fit. If it doesn't fit, I'd already ordered on Amazon just a basic master cylinder that was like $38. And I'll bolt that up until I get the shock towers out of the way. When I do the Mustang 2 front end conversion, I'll just use that. But yeah, this is from some kind of large Chevy truck. But booster's the important part. The booster will fit. So, yeah, we'll make it work. How hard could it be? And then it's got this already, so, I mean, I'll make that work with my brake pedal one way or another. Obviously, I'll have to drill some holes, because back here I've just got the 2 posts and then 2 bolts above it. Probably hold my pedal cluster in there, so it looks like there's a... No, that's the top of the bolt. Okay, but yeah, I'll take these bolts out. They're pretty loose. Glad they're bolts and not studs. So yeah, I'll just have to drill some more down here. Take these out, slide that thing in, bolt it down. Yeah, we'll get to it pretty soon. I really want this thing to have brakes. I also ordered all the wheel cylinders, the flexible lines, and seals for the bearings, because I assume those are going to be bad too. Every seal on this car is going to leak. As soon as I start this thing up and drive it anywhere, every rubber seal in here is going to go, oh, 25 years! Ugh. That'll be fun. Alright, we're finally going to put this carburetor on. I'm going to go to the junkyard later and find a car with a throttle cable and grab the whole throttle cable assembly. Probably something from the 80s from Chrysler would be ideal, because that's what I'm most familiar with. But anyways, went to the hardware store and got bolts, so we're going to bolt on this carburetor now. The adapter it came with and everything. And then I'll move on to the points, because I got the screws for the points now too. So, 1, 2, 3, 4 of these for the carburetor itself. And then I've got... for the carburetor and 2 for this. So these are going to go on here. Washers. I don't need no stinking washers. Probably should have gotten washers. This thing is rather tight up on these studs, so it's going to be hard to tighten this. The studs are going to be running into the aluminum housing. Okay. Got the right thread pitch. They had nice little things to try the bolts on and in there, so I was able to get the right sizes. Okay, and then these 1/2-inch drive or 9/16. Here's my 9/16. I don't have a whole lot of not metric wrenches, so I think I have one set that cover all the not metric sizes. And so if I misplace one, I don't have a spare. Like with my metric, I've got several of everything. I'm going to install it in this direction because I want the throttle cable pointing back that way. It'll give me more room to make a bracket. So, it'll be harder to get to bolts. Or easier to get to. Okay. There's that. Oh, that bolt's just barely long enough to begin with. Sheesh. Yeah, these bolts aren't long enough.
It should be unlocked.
Gonna have to buy longer bolts. Alright. Okay, condenser is right here. Might as well start with that. And where do I put my bag of screws? Alright, stubby flathead it is. So I'm going to put the condenser in first. I don't know what to set the points to, and I'm not entirely sure I know where my feeler gauges are. The only reason I have even the slightest clue on how to deal with the points is I had a Volkswagen Beetle. That screw's mostly down. I wanted shorter screws. These are 3/8 inch long. And I think they're fine. They're not going to run into the bottom of this. don't think. But I can always cut them shorter if I had to. Yeah, let me see if I can find feeler gauges. 0.15. Boy, this is rusty. Anyways, it'll do. All right, cool. Small screwdriver would be nice. Okay, anyways. Yes. Okay, that's a 0.15 gap. Cool. And that's that. We got the 0.7. Went to the junkyard and I got myself a throttle cable off a Neon. It's good and long. That's way longer than it ever needed to be in that Neon, but he'll get me from, you know, over here to the firewall. Any route I feel like taking. And I even grabbed the gas pedal off the firewall in that car, so I will have no problem hooking this up. This is just going to go through a hole in the firewall, and it's got a grommet to go in it nicely, and then this hooks into that real nicely. And at the end of this I got a barrel and plenty of cable so I can wrap it around the throttle on this carburetor and make it work. So that shouldn't be too bad. I stopped at the parts store and got some foamy engine cleaners, so when I back this out later this afternoon to get the grease off the engine, we will be effective. And finally, since those bolts on the carburetor weren't long enough and they were a little bit too big, I went down a size. So instead of being 3/8 inch, they're going to be 5/16. And yeah, that's just right length, 1.5 inches. I figured they were probably 1 inch on there right now, and yeah, I'll take these off and we'll get the carburetor bolted down properly. There we go. That one's tight. That one's tight. That one's tight. And that one's tight. Alrighty, carburetor's done. Yeah, well, you know, bolted on anyways. Oh, that stiff wire. That needs ignition power. And yeah, that was the big goal for the day. Accomplished now. Another project for today. Well, I should have the master cylinder. It should have arrived from Amazon. So my temporary unboosted master cylinder should be here. And at some point I want to take off these hood hinges and weld them back together the way they're supposed to be. You know, pound them flat and get them all straight. Then the hood will go up and down safely and in the correct direction and stuff. So that'll be nice. Alright, here's the new master cylinder I got off Amazon. I have no idea if it's going to line up, but let's find out. Aye, aye, aye. Perhaps. It's right up against this, so since these are coming out pretty soon anyways, I'm probably just going to cut them off so they're not here in my way right now. But yeah, I think this is going to fit. Alright. So it's in here, and the bolt holes lined up with the bolt holes on the firewall, which is awesome. So, oh, 9/16, not 1/2 inch. So we learned metric in elementary school. Sizes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Learn SAE somewhere in like junior high. 9/16, 7/16, 1/2. Much more complicated. Earlier I had to figure out what was between 3/8 and 1/4. 8mm is. It's a 1/4 inch, or no, I mean it's a 5/16 inch. Is the equivalent, but that's one of those sizes that's the same. So. right, so this front one should be the one expecting disc brakes. I'm just going to put in a T-block, and that's going to go to both front drums. And the rear one's expecting drums, so I'll just run it to the rear and it'll be fine. It says, there's a big warning in here. Make sure you bench bleed these, big red. Oh, well, how about English? Yeah, all new Masters Soldiers should be bench bled. For the first time I've gotten a Master. Oh, there it is. No, that's not it. Yeah, this isn't it. I was going to say, this is the first time I've gotten a Master Cylinder without the bench bleeding kit with the little hoses. How am I supposed to bench bleed it if you don't give me the kit?
Truck's not rolling right.
Oh, it does say something about putting in these plugs. Bench bleeding using outlet port plugs. Huh, okay. And I don't need to bench bleed it. I just put it on the car and step on the pedal. Do I just keep pumping until it blows these things out? Little plastic plugs. Hydraulic force. I don't know. Alright, here's an engine picture before I already wrapped the carburetor in the distributor. Yeah, so there's quite a bit of grease on this thing. Everywhere. So let's see if we can clean up this engine at all. Here we are, we're letting it soak for a little bit, but it's all sudsed up. I even got some of the firewall back there, so this should come pretty darn clean when I'm done. Or I've got another can and I could do a second round. And here it is after 2 rounds of degreaser and a pressure washer. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. Over here we have the crappy old tired starter, rusty and greasy and stuff. And here's the shiny new one. I may only use this for a couple of starts and then determine that the engine's no good. Or I may use it, for most of the summer before I tear down the car for the engine swap. So either way, now I got a starter. I'm going to swap that in and see how it goes. Let's hope this is recording. I'm going to see if I got spark. Give the body some better ground. I've got a wire jumper to the starter right now. I've got a wire jumper to the ignition right now. And pull the main lead off the distributor cap. If I can get it off, there we go. And we're going to look for spark on, I guess we will look for it on the engine block. You won't be able to see it on camera because I'm way back here, but don't zap myself. Okay, didn't have spark at first, and suddenly I did. So, got spark. Next up, let's get something to drink. Who knows if it'll fire on this, but only one way to find out. Okay, that's something flammable. Let's do it. Okay, we're still recording. Here we go. Okay. It almost fired on something flammable. Let's give it some more. Here we go again. Nope. No fire. Alright, so I forgot to turn it off when I went to the store to get some gas and some starting fluid. It smells like toasted marshmallows, and it's making sizzling noises, you know, several minutes after I got it unplugged from the car. It's almost too hot to touch. Yeah, it's pretty darn hot. And it oozed its guts down onto the floor and onto the fuel line, and I think there's some on the starter or on the fuel pump itself. Yeah, I'm gonna need a new coil before I can try to start this thing. Dang it. There we are. One brand new coil because we popped the old one yesterday. That kind of shut me down for yesterday, but while it was cooking, I had gone to the store and I bought some starting fluid and I bought some gasoline. So we're going to pour the gasoline into the carburetor, pour it into the bowl. We'll try to start it again. If that's not potent enough for it, the starting fluid certainly will be. And I'm at this point just hoping that the compression comes back once it starts. You know, get some air flowing through there rapidly and clean up those valves. I don't want to have to pull the head. Alright. Let's see about getting you to fire up. First, these are the vents for the bowl on here. So I'm going to try and pour it into the bowl. Nope, that's not. Well, I guess that is a vent. It just flows in there really slowly. Okay, we're dripping. So I'm going to call that full. And put some down the carburetor. Plenty down the carburetor. And we're going to prop the throttle blades open with the screwdriver. That seems to be a thing. Well, I don't understand why this thing is leaking so bad, but maybe that wasn't the vent. I don't know. Oh, there's the throttle blades. All right, that'll hold it open a little bit. Well, are we feeling lucky? I got gas dripping everywhere. Let's make some sparks. Hey, y'all, watch this. Okay, I forgot to hook up the ignition this time. Rather than forgetting to turn it off, I forgot to turn it on. Okay, we have certainly got power to the ignition. Ready? Come on, baby. Oh. Okay, we'll break out the heavier stuff. Nothing. That's interesting. It's cranking over pretty good for having a bad battery. Okay, there's some fuel. More than enough. Come on, baby. Daddy wants a new car. That's the end of that battery. Alright. Guess I'm done frying for today. Good grief. I can do a compression check next to see if I got any cylinders with any compression or if they're just all dead. And maybe a leak down test. I got a tester for that. We can check that. So while the battery charges up, let me get the plugs out and we'll do a compression check. Alright, we're doing a leak down test. This is like the best cylinder so far, and it's almost 90%. It's between 85 and 90. If I open the carburetor, I can hear it hissing past a closed valve. This is cylinder 4. The first 3 were completely open, so it might be the valves were actually open on those cylinders. I don't know. But not looking good. I'll keep testing. All right. The best I can get on 2 and 3 is 95%. So I was rotating the engine to find the spot where the valves are closed. And there's an open valve. Sounds like a carburetor. But if I go forward a little bit, boom, it closes. You can see the compression, but it won't hold more than 95% leak down. That's really bad. Cylinder 1, I could not get it below 100%. It might as well not have a piston in that hole. 2 was a lot like this. So, anyways, yeah. It's just not working. She's dead, Jim. I guess next up we're gonna pull the head, and there'll be no first start in this video. There may never be a start with this unless I find valves that I can clean by hand and put it back together and slap a head gasket in there. Maybe I'll just glue this one down and call it good enough. I don't know. I really don't want to spend any more on this engine because this is totally temporary. I rotated it till I had, all the cylinders free, and they all have click when they're all the way up. So or when they're all the way off the lobe anyways. So yeah, it's not a valve adjustment problem. The valves are all the way closed. So I will pull the head off because why not? But I don't expect to ever see this engine run at this point, which is a shame. I already bought spark plugs and wires, or spark plug wires and stuff for it, but everybody can start an engine if it rotates, so why can't I? But we'll see what I see when I get it out. Maybe it's obvious and I feel like putting it back together with the fixed valves, but I suspect that this engine is done. And so we can start the big teardown after that, I guess. I'm not going to go any farther with the brakes because I don't have an engine to need them. The drums are never going to get used. By the time this has a new engine in it, it'll have discs. Probably all 4 discs, because this rear end is going to blow up if I send power from an LS into it. So, yeah. Pulling ahead. Hopefully I can clean up some valves and put it back on. I don't really care. Alright, so cracked a couple of these loose, and I'm going to crack a couple more, and then I'll take the impact gun and zip them out. Yeah, there we go. All right. Now the impact gun. This one had a hole down the middle, or at least in the head, for something I had mounted there. It's kind of goofy. All right, so there's that. I already cut the exhaust pipe. There goes what coolant was in the head. Guess I should get some of this stuff out of my way. theory, that should be heavier than a V8's cast iron head because it's 2 more cylinders. Okay, head gasket. It's an interesting looking head gasket. Looks like it's probably been replaced at some point. Weird. Okay. Anyways. It's metal of some sort. That's interesting. Alright, so let's start with the head. The valves are still a little wet from the coolant. There's that one. A lot of buildup, but you know, you'd expect that. Third cylinder. Fourth. Actually, that's cylinder 1. 2. That valve looks a little different. Oh, okay. Yeah, they're mirror images of each other. Interesting. Okay. So we got Ford logos on the intake valves. But yeah. I'm gonna pop the keepers out and pull the valves out of the head, and we'll get a look at them outside the head and see what we see. Here's the cylinders. Nothing to write home about up here. A little bit of deposits, more than a little bit, but yeah, nothing that I didn't expect to see. So there's that. Yep, there's where I cut the exhaust. Just stuck the Sawzall down there and zoop, went right on through it. So it's cool. This thing still had antifreeze in it. I had looked in the radiator. It was a bit empty, so I just assumed it had nothing. But I guess it did. I'm gonna try filling the cylinders up with some liquid and see if it drains through the valves or not. But first I gotta put spark plugs in to do that. Start them all by hand, and then we will zap them in with a gun. There we go. Okay. No, I just needed it down there. Now we're stable. Now I'm going to get some water to pour in there because I don't want to pour in anything flammable. Ideally, this will just pour right through and I'll know. A little bit more down here, please. I want these nice and brimming over so I can tell if it goes down. Touch more of this one. Come on. There we go. Now they're all brimming over. And it's not pouring through immediately, so maybe it is the rings. Let's put the camera in time-lapse mode. Stop. Alright, cylinder 2 was the worst for the leak through the valves. Cylinder 1 leaked a little bit. Cylinder 4 leaked a little bit less. And then 3, 5, and 6 are just fine. So it must be the rings are just completely shot in this engine. So I'm not going to pursue that. It's not worth it to me to dig into the bottom end of a motor that I'm going to use for a summer or something. It's a shame, but it's the end of my pursuits with this engine. Oh well. Thanks for following along on this one, and I know we didn't get a whole lot of videos of me actually working on it because I just didn't feel like editing that. Maybe in the future I'll point the camera at this more. I gotta get my tripod to stop nodding off. It's missing a tensioning screw. But anyways, like and subscribe, and we'll see what comes of this next.